Hey everybody, Christopher Black here, Senior Solutions Engineer with Harness. And in today's video, we're going to build, test, and deploy serverless infrastructure leveraging the Harness platform. Before we jump in, I'm going to click Run up here, and we're going to kick off a pipeline. Kind of like one of those cooking shows where they start cooking stuff and they've got different dishes in the background. This pipeline, this is a real pipeline, this is going to run in the background. Okay, we just kicked our pipeline off. Let's talk a little bit about what it is we're actually deploying. This is an AWS Lambda function. I might use the terms Lambda and serverless interchangeably in today's video, but the core concept here is applicable to all serverless infrastructure. I'll give you a great example. Azure Functions, for example, right? A lot of the conceptual footing that we established today is applicable to all serverless infrastructure. So I have a little diagram down here, and this walks through the project at a high level. We're building and testing our function itself. Okay, that makes sense, right? Whenever we talk about serverless infrastructure, we're ultimately talking about the ability to dynamically execute functions based on some kind of predetermined threshold, based on some kind of connectivity to, say, an API gateway. But the simplest way I can describe it, functions is a service. So we have to build and package and test our function. That's a CI consideration. But at the end of the day, we ultimately have to deploy and orchestrate our function itself. And that's where things get very, very interesting. And that's where modeling a serverless function as a versioned, immutable artifact is an incredibly powerful abstraction. So let's jump back to the Harness platform. And I think this is a really great example because it's a great example because it conveys how Harness is uniquely positioned to solve some of the biggest challenges in the industry today as it relates to software delivery. So let's look at our pipeline. This stage over here, compile Lambda artifact. We build, test, we compile a function. Okay, we store that function in S3. It could be any kind, it could be any other intermediary storage mechanism. It's a CI consideration. We build, test, and package our function. Okay. When we deploy our function, that is to say, model our function as a service, there's a couple of configurations, a couple of abstractions we have to codify in Harness. The first is the service. We model our serverless infrastructure, we model our serverless function as a service. Sounds like a little bit of recursion going on, but the service is ultimately the what. The environment is the where, and the execution is the how. Let's click on execution history up here. This might take a second to load. I've got so many tabs open. We're going to jump back to our execution history. And this is the actual execution history of the pipeline. The build output, there's a ton of very valuable information presented here. The build output is compartmentalized by stage, and then therein by individual groupings of steps. Our stage deploy Lambda function effectively orchestrates the deployment of that function to a respective cloud provider. I'm going to pause for a second again. I want to generalize what we're talking about today to serverless infrastructure across all cloud providers. We're modeling, deploying our serverless function as a versioned, immutable artifact. That's the takeaway from this video. That's an incredibly powerful abstraction because if we model our function as a versioned, immutable artifact, then all of Harness's other differentiators, the other capabilities that we brought to market, things like policy as code, security as code, robust approval processes, well, we can apply all of this to the deployment, to the building, testing, and the deployment of serverless infrastructure. We're going to click on this stage down here, Echo Lambda, and we're going to click on this link up here. Awesome. Hopefully you all can see that okay. So in this video, it's been 5 minutes. We deployed a Lambda function. We built, tested, and deployed a Lambda function end-to-end, leveraging Harness. One final thing I just want to sound off with. You'll notice that we have appended a lot of meta information from the Harness pipeline itself into our service. And this makes sense, right? When you think about organizations, mature DevOps, sophisticated automation, we like to tag our artifacts and services with this kind of meta information just because it's good for that end-to-end traceability. Things like artifacts provenance come into play. In subsequent videos, we'll take all of this and we'll start to apply DevSecOps principles, and then we'll really start to cook with gas. But that's all I've got for now. I hope you found this video valuable. Just to recap, what Harness does in terms of modeling serverless infrastructure, it's an incredibly powerful abstraction. We model it as a versioned, immutable artifact, and we treat that deployment as we would any other kind of service. It's an incredibly powerful abstraction. Hopefully you found this video valuable, entertaining if nothing else, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.